Herod the Great, 37 to 4 BC. He wanted to build a huge temple. He was the biggest builder this land has seen. Now, the temple in his time stood at the top of Mount Moriah. Do you remember we were saying that Mount Moriah goes down this way? Now, the top of the mountain was too little for Herod, so he wanted to enlarge the top of the mountain. And the way he did it was building a series of arches, each time deeper as you go down south the slope, and then cover them with 4 walls. It's like basically like building a shoebox inverted on top of the mountain. And that shoebox is standing to this very day. Right? And we see it here. We see part of it. Now here you can see the valley, the little valley that we were talking about running from north to south. So we're the western hill, down to the valley, and then up to Mount Moriah, down to the Josaphat Valley, up to the Mount of Olives over there. And the platform is what Jews call the Temple Mount. It's basically an artificial enlargement of the top of the mountain. And on top of that platform, there was that temple. That is the temple that Jesus saw. Remember Herod the Great, just before Jesus. And that temple was the biggest temple in the world for any deity at the time. And it was open to people from all nations to come and worship in the house of the Lord. Right? Now, the Jews, we were saying, have been lamenting the destruction of the temple ever since. And it was the second destruction, basically, because the first temple, Solomon's temple, had been destroyed by the Babylonians earlier, 500 years earlier. In the Jewish calendar, both destructions took place actually on the same day of the same month, with all those years in between, and it's a day of atonement and fasting. And
Yom Kippur?
No, the Tisha B'Av, the day of the destruction of the temple. And through millennia, basically, they have been lamenting the destruction of the temple, right? Now, they have wanted to come back to the temple, but the temple is not there anymore, and in the place where the temple stood, there is the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So what can they reach? They can reach the surrounding walls of this shoebox, right? And we have here is the western wall of the shoebox, and there the southern wall of the shoebox, and we could actually reach the eastern wall of the shoebox over on the other side. Now the shoebox had 1,500 feet of length, yes, so it's much longer than one we see here exposed. But during the 14th century, after the expulsion of the Crusaders, the Muslims wanted direct access to the complex over there. So they built the neighborhood, the Muslim neighborhood over there, the Muslim quarter. It's actually also suspended in the air to reach directly into the platform, right? So basically, the wall is sort of the end, or the continuation of the wall, is the end of those vaults on which the Muslim quarter is built, right? So what you are left with is this little bit of the western wall exposed, and then the southern wall and the eastern wall. Why is the western wall the one that is called the Wailing Wall, and not the southern or the eastern? They all date back to the same time, and they're seen as the remnants of the temple. They are not actually part of the temple, yeah? They're part of that sort of platform on which the temple was built. But the temple, originally, which supposedly the main building was very close to where the Golden Dome is, was offset to the side. It wasn't in the middle of the platform, it was in the western side of the platform. And to the temple you would enter from the east. And when you entered, you would enter 3 consecutive rooms. And the deepest room was the Holy of Holies. And that was full of the presence of the Lord. That was the house of the Lord. Now, that deepest room was much closer to the western side. So for a Jew, coming to the western wall is coming the closest you can get to the Holy of Holies. And hence the importance of the place, right? And according to Jewish tradition, that divine presence that was present in the Holy of Holies has never abandoned this spot.